very seriously about what's happened here today. And of course, we've had great music, we've had some inspiring speakers, but we really have to reflect on what's happened. And for those of you who have just arrived here in the last hour, you should realize that halfway down 14th Street that way, halfway up 14th Street that way, Broadway, all blocked this way and that, it was packed solid with people. I understand that the news is saying that this is the largest demonstration that Oakland has seen since the days of the Vietnam War. I have to tell you, I was up, I had about 2 hours sleep last night working on all of this, and it's just been an absolute inspiration for me to see what's happened. And it's not just how many people were here, but who was here. We had retirees like myself. We had people who were sleeping in tents year-round. We had the unemployed. We had employed. We had young people who I would guess it's the first time they've been at a political demonstration like this before. And that, for me, and for the other older people, is the most inspirational part of all. And then you had those many thousands and tens of thousands of people, and especially those youth, who marched down to the docks, and they shut down a multi-billion-dollar industry. And those people, and again, especially for the youth, I think hopefully it gave them a little sense of the massive power that they have in their hands, and also what they can do with it. But with power comes responsibility. And that responsibility is to use that power to fight for a changed world. Now, I was in the March on Washington back in the 1960s. And I can stand up here and talk about I was in something, a historical event. And every single one of us that's here today, in 50 years from now, at least those of you who will be here in 50 years, you'll be able to say, I was at the Oakland General Strike of 2011. The first general strike in the United States since 1946, when Oakland had the last general strike in this country. I was there at that historic moment. And we have to, if we're going to move forward with this movement, then it's absolutely clear today from who came out here that this is not just like a one-day wonder. This is the beginning of a mass movement. And back in the 1960s, there was a huge difference between that movement and what we face today. The huge difference was that most workers at that time, they could expect to have a decent job. Every year, their lives would be a little bit better than it was the year before. Most, but not all. And now, the big bulk of the working class, that's something totally different. And so whereas back then, many, many millions of workers didn't get involved, now they're forced to get involved. And one mistake that we made back then was that we didn't build a movement that was completely independent of corporate America, including their two political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. And we must not repeat that mistake again today. So what brings me out here today, and what I see here today, basically what brings me out here more than anything else is my 5 grandchildren. And the direction that the world's moving in today, I want to be able to tell them that I didn't just sit passively by and watch the whole world, as we used to say, go to hell in a handbasket. And that's something that's up to all of us, that we must think and organize and struggle and sacrifice. And as we do that, we will become bigger people. And we have to learn from those past mistakes. And on that basis, we can fight, we can transform the entire world, and we can bring into reality what's on that sign that I never thought I would see stretched across 14th Street: occupy everything, general strike, and death to capitalism, for a world that's run by the working class majority, for the working class majority, that produces what we need, based on what we need, and not just for the profit of that tiny 1% minority. So I thank you all, and I want to add that I think that one thing that can come out of this movement, we should build 1% clubs, 99% clubs. We should have them in West Oakland. We should have them in the Lakeview District. We should have them in Folktown, which is where I live. We should have them in the Fruitvale. 99% clubs that struggle out in the streets, that are independent, that fight for working class people. That can be the beginning of an organization that can carry this movement forward, that's just barely beginning today. In conclusion, I urge you all to stick around. Some of the marchers are coming back from the ports, and I'm sure they'll give you a very inspiring message of what they accomplished down there. That's just a tiny portion of what we're going to accomplish in the future.
Stand up for your right.
Hey! Hey!
Get up, stand up.
Oakland!
Stand up for your right.
Feel free to dance, y'all.
Get up, stand up.
We own the streets.
Stand up
We can
for
dance
your
here.
right.
Cause they're whose streets?
Stand up